Hello Algebra 1. In this video I'm going to go over the quiz that you took right before the holiday break. It's only intended for people who've already taken the quiz, so if you haven't taken it, you shouldn't be watching this video. Please pause now and wait and don't come back until after you've taken the quiz. If there's anybody in the room, and this is intended to be shown in the classroom, that hasn't taken the quiz already, I've tried to identify all of those people for the substitute teacher, but if anybody else hasn't taken it, now would be the time to stop watching. Thanks. I'm not going to go over every question in the quiz, but most of them. This one here, question 1, was one that most everybody had correctly, so I'm not going to worry about that one. I'm going to skip right ahead to question 2. And with question 2, almost everybody plotted at least 2 of the 3 points correctly, but there were some people who had trouble with one of them. In particular, this point here, 0, -5, people had some difficulty deciding which was the 0 and which was the -5. Well, do remember that the first number always is x and the second is y, so the -5 is y. Well, there's my y-axis, so I'm looking for the position -5 on the y-axis. Well, here's the origin, or the 0 point, on both x and y. So counting down from 0 on the y-axis, there's -5. So that's the point 0, -5. Next 2 questions were similar to each other, 3 and 4. In both cases, you were supposed to figure out 1 point, and you were given a choice of 3 different ones to pick from, but 1 point actually does belong on this line. And again, another 1 point does belong on this line. And the way to do it is to plug in the x and y values into the equation. The most common mistake I saw with number 3 was that people thought -1, 5 belonged. If that was the case, then instead of y equals 2x minus 7, I'd plug in the 5 and the -1, and I'd get 5 equals 2 times -1 minus 7. Well, 2 times -1 is -2. So I've got 5 equals -2 minus 7. You put -2 and -7 together, you get -9. 5 is not the same as -9. By the way, I've made a mistake there, haven't I? It's supposed to say -9. My bad. There. But instead, the correct answer is C. And if you plug -5 and -17 in, well, that would mean -17 should be equal to 2 times -5 minus 7. I've got y. I've replaced that with -17 here. I've got 2x. I've replaced that with 2 times -5 here. And so now let's keep going here. 2 times -5 is -10. So -10 and -7 together, those do make -17. I do have a match here, and C is the correct answer. Similar challenge with number 4, but in this case, the x and the y are on the same side as each other, but that's not a major problem. The most common mistaken choice I saw was with A. People thought it might be -2 and 2. Let's plug those in. 3 times -2, well, that's -6. And so I've got -6 minus 2. But -6 minus 2, those together make -8. -8 is not the same thing as 8. That would mean that owing somebody $8 is the same as having $8. That doesn't make sense. The right answer is B. You plug that in, and you're going to find you've got 9 minus 1, and of course 9 minus 1 is 8. Number 5, find 3 different points that lie on this line. I explained this actually at the beginning, right before the quiz, this wording, so I was a little surprised at how many people had difficulty, but it was a large number of people that did have difficulty. It was almost 2/3 of all of my classes. So what you need to do, anytime anybody asks you whether or not you can find a point that lies on a line, make yourself an XY list. And use easy numbers for x. 0 is the easiest of all. If x is 0, well, y is 5 minus 2x. Well, that would mean 5 minus 2 times 0. And so once you've got that figured out, you try other simple numbers like 1 and 2 and 3, plug those into the same equation, so I plug 1 in here, and 2 here, and 3 here. Okay, 5 minus 2 times 0. Well, 2 times 0 is nothing. So 5 minus 0, that's 5. 2 times 1 is 2, so I've got 5 minus 2, that's 3, and I keep going. And those are the answers I should have had. Now, I don't mind if you write your answer, your table out like this, as long as you get it to the stage where you're telling me the coordinates of points. Well, right now, this doesn't look like the coordinates of points. So I've got to simplify this. I don't need all this stuff in blue here in the middle. I just really need these answers in green. Okay, so I actually have 4 different points that lie on the line. 0, 5 is one of those points, and I should have, but didn't, put parens around them to show that that's a point, and similarly these are points. 1, 3 is a point, 2, 1 is a point, and 3, negative 1 is a point. Okay, moving on here. There weren't many mistakes with the scatter plot. Most people drew it correctly. The problem that we had, though, was that some people, when I asked them to draw a best fit line, they connected all the dots in a zigzag pattern. Remember, it's called a best fit line. It's crucial that you actually draw a straight line that best represents those points. Don't make a zigzag. I'm looking for something like that. Okay, for number 7, in this case, I know that x is negative 3. I know y is equal to something that has x in it. Well, x is negative 3. So instead of 3 times 2x plus 4, I'm going to put negative 3 in there. And using PEMDAS, the first thing I would do would be 2 times negative 3. Well, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So now I've got 3 times negative 6 plus 4. Again, PEMDAS tells me to put the negative 6 and 4 together next. So I've got 3 times negative 2, or in other words, negative 6. Negative 6 is what y becomes. I use this same blue pattern here when I'm trying negative 2, but I just put negative 2 in there, and I put 0 in, and 1 in, and 2. I'm not going to work through each of these, but 2 times negative 2, that's negative 4. Negative 4 plus 4 cancel each other out, that's 0. 3 times 0 is 0. And here are the other answers that I was looking for. For number 8, I'm supposed to find the x-intercept. Well, remember, when I'm trying to find an intercept, I talked about the cover-up method. So I cover up the y. I want to know what x is. 6x equals 36. Whoops, didn't mean to move that. Hang on just a second. If 6x is 36, then x is 36 divided by 6, or in other words, x equals 6. That's my x-intercept. Similar idea here with the y-intercept. But I cover up this time the x. I've got 2y equals negative 16. That means y is equal to negative 8. Next question, I'm supposed to graph the equation x equals negative 4. Well, remember, it's going to be a line. X is equal to negative 4 is going to be somewhere on the x-axis. Where? Well, it'll be at negative 4. So I count it off. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. It's at negative 4, but it's not a point. I continue that tick mark that I'd made there, and I make a line. And that's my line for x equals negative 4. Now, I'm supposed to decide what the slope is for this. Well, it's a vertical line. Remember what I said about the sledder who's on a cliff like that. The result is undefined for that sledder. I'm supposed to sketch a line that has these intercepts. Well, first of all, it's a line, once again. And second of all, it's intercepted in 2 different places. Well, think of this interception like intercepting a pass in any kind of sport. It's going to be intercepted by the x line. That's the x-intercept. Well, this is the x line, so somewhere on here it's going to get intercepted. It's also, though, going to get intercepted on the y line. That's this one. So it's going to get intercepted on both lines. On the x line, it gets intercepted at negative 2. Well, here's the x line at negative 2, and there's a point at negative 2. Similarly, on the y line, it gets intercepted at 5, positive 5. I draw a line through it. That's all there is to that. The next question, 13, I'm supposed to find the x and the y intercept of the equation below. And then I'm supposed to graph that line. Well, again, I'm going to pull out the cover-up method. If I want to know what x is, well, it's going to be negative 2x equals 20. So I move that negative 2 over, and it becomes x equals 20 divided by negative 2, or in other words, x equals negative 10. Well, on this x line here, I make a spot at negative 10. Now, I'm supposed to find the y-intercept as well. If negative 4y equals 20, then y equals negative 5. So on the y line, I make a spot at negative 5. And there it is. Now I simply draw a line between those, or through those points. And that's my line for this equation here, negative 2x minus 4y equals 20. That's the line. 14, most of you understood from this word problem that you were supposed to write an equation. But too many of you wrote this equation, 4x plus 5x equals 400. Well, if that were true, then I could put these together and say 9x equals 400 and say that all the tickets are the same. That's not true. Instead, I needed you to make the first variable a different letter from the second variable. I didn't care if you called them x and y, or A for advance and D for at the door, or A and B, or whatever letters you chose, as long as they were two different letters. But this is an acceptable equation. 15 and 16 were very similar to each other, and most of you remembered the formula for slope, and most of you remembered that x comes before y and set it up correctly. But some of you did do it upside down, and some of you made an arithmetic mistake. 14 minus 2 is 12, and 11 minus 3 is 8. So if anybody thought 11 minus 3 is 9, they had a problem. 12 over 8 simplifies down to 3 over 2, but I gave you full credit if you said 12 over 8. For 16, same formula, same x's and y's. This time it's a little trickier because we've got a lot of negative signs here, and that's where we ran into some problems. This is a double minus here. Negative 1 minus negative 3. Well, double minus becomes plus. So negative 1 plus 3 is 2. I have negative 8 over 2, which simplifies down to negative 4. 17, I'm supposed to find the value of y. This is one of the hardest ones. So actually what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to make a separate one just to make sure that everybody has enough time to understand this, which is one of the most difficult questions on the quiz.